Liam famously predicted before the tournament started that Croatia would have a big say in the World Cup and were his dark horses, and before they played England the other night he had the audacity to tip them. John Giles is also with me. John, I think, was like me in the England camp. John, why did England lose to Croatia?
Well, I think Croatia proved to be the better team over the 90 minutes and the extra time, Eamon. They played better, they stayed at the game longer, they had Modric, and I'd say they were the main sources of the victory. Bad first half for them, Eamon. England were on top first half. I think they ran out of steam in the second half. They didn't have anybody like Modric to slow the game down. Croatia believed in themselves more in the second half than they did in the first half, and went on to win the match, deservedly so. Now,
Harry Kane had a great chance when England were 1-0 up. He could have either had a go himself from 7 or 8 yards or played Raheem Sterling in. That was a key moment, obviously. 2-0 would have been too much, I think, perhaps for Croatia.
Well, it probably would, Eamon. You never know, but it's all ifs and buts. The fact is he didn't do it. I don't think Harry Kane played well the other day. In fact, Eamon, I don't think Harry Kane played well in the tournament. I think he scored a couple of good goals early on, but he looked lifeless to me.
Yeah.
And my theory on it, for what it's worth, I think the captaincy takes too much out of him.
Right.
I think he takes too much out of himself.
Yeah.
Over the captaincy.
He's 24, which is young too, to be captain of England.
Well, I wouldn't so much his age. I think it's the personality. I think he takes it really, really seriously, Eamon, that the captaincy is extra and he has to do this and he has to do that. He's a goal scorer, and he's a great lad, but I think he should have been freed of the responsibility of that. And I think it played on his mind, certainly physically, on the pitch in a few of the matches, and particularly at the semi-final.
Yeah, I mean,
he really ran out of steam, Eamon,
Yeah, I think as opposed to someone like John Terry at Chelsea, of course, a centre-half, but who embraces the responsibility of it, loves the responsibility of it, and takes it on. Just one other thought, John, before I talk to the guru beside me. I thought England were a certainty because I thought Croatia would be tired after all the 2 extra times penalties. But I also thought that they lacked character, funny enough, and that's not the way it turned out. But even when I was fancying England and saying he'd done a good job, I thought that back three of Walker, Stones and Maguire was their Achilles heel potentially, and really that was the case. I thought Walker was very, very poor for the equaliser.
Well, it was part of it, Eamon, but you have to go back to the original time when I certainly said early on, I never saw a team win a tournament without a midfield. And they didn't have a and they still didn't have a midfield near the end.
That's right.
So I think in Panama and Tunisia, the system they had suited them because they were playing against a bad team. But I think once they were tested and somebody got through the midfield, then it gets to the point you were making about the lads not defending very well.
Yes.
In the first 2 matches, and against Sweden, they didn't really have to defend at all.
Yes.
But once the match started and Croatia got a belief in themselves for the second half, they didn't have a Modric, England, as we knew from the start, to slow the game down under very, very hot conditions, and that was all part of it. And Rakitic, last name?
Yes.
In the midfield, they just didn't have a midfield. So a team that could get at the back four, obviously then would have a chance to expose the back four. Before that, none of the teams could expose them.
Yeah.